When Tergrid was a child, her shadow tried to kill her. Only her lantern keeps it at bay. Tergrid's Lantern. How's it going, everyone? My name is Josh from Elder Drunken Highlander, and today I'm coming to you with a cEDH deck that Austin brewed up that is just plain mean. This deck abuses Tergrid God of Fright in order to break parity and even find advantage as we stacks out the table. From there, we can win with simple creature beats or one of a few infinite mana combos, one of which is an extra spicy, but still somehow good, pile of jank that uses our opponent's creatures and allows us to burn out the table with Tergrid's back half. Before we get into the deck though, I just want to talk briefly about the brewing process. This deck is only a few days old and largely untested. Our other cEDH decks that we showcased on this channel, Jessica Jund and the Road to El Discardo, which you can find in the video description, changed quite a bit after we released our video, largely due to discussions sparked by the video itself. Because of this, we want to start this video by inviting you to brew with us. Tergrid is certain to be a popular cEDH commander, and we want all the people we can get trying to brew her. Linked in the video description will be resources that you can use to help brainstorm your own version of the deck, including the unified Mono Black Discord and the Tergrid channel on our personal Discord. There will also be a few deck lists linked there as well, and we will continue to add more resources for deck building as we find them. Let's build the best Tergrid deck we can together. This deck is mainly focused on the creature side of Tergrid, forcing opponents to discard cards and sacrifice creatures, and breaking parity by taking the permanents among them. Look to keep opening hands that can turbo out Tergrid and resolve a way to capitalize on her effect immediately. This could be something like ramping into her and following up with Burglar Rats, or just having Bottomless Pit on the board the turn before you cast her. Once you have her out, look to protect her with cards like Imp's Mischief and Lightning Greaves and continue to resolve discard and sack effects until your opponents run out of resources. While we stacks our opponents out, we can deal combat damage and burn damage over time to lower their life total. This means that oftentimes we can just win by resolving big non-infinite damage swings such as a massive Torment of Hailfire or just attacking into an empty board with all of our opponent's things. It's preferable, both for us and our opponents who just want their torture to end, to finish with some kind of infinite combo, and we have a few you can use. Let's start with the more well-known one, and we'll save that super spicy line for last. The first and simplest is Rings of Brighthearth, Nykthos or Scorched Ruins, and Deserted Temple. Tap your mana producing land, let's use Scorched Ruins because I don't want to keep saying Nykthos, and add 4 colorless. Now, spend 1 of that colorless and tap Deserted Temple to untap Scorched Ruins. Copy the untap by spending 2 more of your floating mana to activate Rings. Use the first untap to untap Scorched Ruins and the second untap to untap Deserted Temple. You now have 1 mana floating. Repeat this until you have infinite colorless mana, then execute the same combo using a swamp instead of Scorched Ruins to filter that mana into black mana. From there, just cast any sack spell to get rid of Tergrid, and then recast her in her lantern form to burn out the table. You can also use Rings of Brighthearth and Basalt Monolith to get infinite colorless mana, and you can filter that colorless mana into black mana using a number of different ways. But a lot of people are already aware of that combo, and I know the reason you all come here is to see that USDA grade A prime jank that is still somehow questionably cEDH viable. We got you, fam. Start with Tergrid, Grave Pact or Dictative Erebos, Mikaeus the Unhallowed, and a sack outlet on the board. For this combo, we're going to use Phyrexian Altar because it's the easiest, but any of the sack outlets in our deck can just get us to Phyrexian Altar, which is the one we need for the combo. First, sack one of your own creatures. This triggers Grave Pact and forces your opponents to also sack a creature. Tergrid makes this creature come into play under your control. Your creature comes back with Undying, which doesn't really matter, but it is pretty neat. Now, sack your opponent's creature to the altar. Undying and the Grave Pact will trigger. Resolve the Undying first, and the creature comes back under its owner's control. Oh yeah, baby. This means your opponent regains control of it. Now the Grave Pact trigger resolves, and they have to sacrifice it again, giving control of it back to you. Mwah, mwah. Once you have played Monkey in the Middle with your opponent's mana dorks long enough, just sack your Tergrid, then recast her in her ass form in order to burn out the board. Who knows, maybe this combo will be so spicy that your opponents won't even be mad that you turboed out Tergrid into a dark deal on turn 3. Probably not, though. As for weaknesses, this deck loses to an unprotected Tergrid biting the dust repeatedly thanks to her high casting toss, and also to fast combo decks that can go off before we really can set up our disruption. Notable inclusions. These are the 5 groups of cards I think are best to showcase for this type of build. Burglar Rats and Friends. Breaking parity with universal discard effects is awesome, especially so when attached to a body that can be reanimated and sacrificed. Death Cloud and Oppression. These are pretty interesting ramp options with Tergrid on the field. The Reanimator package. Mono Black Aristostax wouldn't be complete without a Reanimator package. This one lets us steal our opponent's creatures a second time or get value from our own, such as Villas or Mikaeus. Fraying Omnipotence. When they think you're going for a main phase ad nause, but it's actually this card. Memes aside, this card does do a lot of work for us, gaining us insane value with Tergrid on the board and eliminating any potential for ad nause, assuming we can turbo this out first. Even when everyone is low on cards, it helps us close the game with our beatdown and drain backup plan. Speaking of which, Torment of Hailfire is a 1-card win con in this deck, forcing opponents to give us all their stuff or die. This is especially impactful when you consider the fact that we will be getting any fetch lands that hit the grave, as well as any lands we force other players to sack or discard. That's a lot of extra mana to throw into our Torment. Notable exclusions. These are cards we are still considering for the deck list. Since this deck is still being brewed, this is more of a maybe board than a list of cards we cut. Field of the Dead. This card can be really sweet with all the lands our opponents are giving us, but ultimately coming into play tapped seemed too high of a price for something we won't ever tutor for. I still think it's really strong, and Austin really likes it, so maybe we'll throw it back in depending on how the deck performs. Ad nauseum. Have you seen our average CMC? We would just die. We do run Pier though, although I'm not sure if that's correct. Time will tell. Necropotence. Yeah, discarding into exile is too big of a downside for this deck. We're just gonna not. Walking Ballista and Triskelion. Just because we run Mikaeus doesn't mean we should be shoving other cards that don't help our strat in here because they work with him. We honestly might not even have to. Should I even be running Mikaeus? At least Mikaeus also breaks parity when we sack our own creatures and enables the beatdown plan a little more. Possessed Portal. It's 8 mana. I don't know, that's a lot. More tutors. I don't think we really need to turbo out our win. Assembling it while we stacks out the board and assemble value with our commander's abilities seems a little bit better slot-wise. Power level. Austin and I aren't sure if this deck is full-on cEDH, but it certainly is fringe, and that's good enough for us and for most tables. One warning about this deck and others like it. Tiny bones. Never play against weaker decks, only play against other cEDH level builds. These types of decks punching down at weaker decks just feels bad for everyone, and doing it intentionally and repeatedly is pub stomping in the worst possible way. And also, it's a sign that you should probably seek therapy. Don't do things in a game that aren't fun. In conclusion, Tergrid brings forwards a lot of opportunities for mono black stacks and discard cEDH decks, and we are really excited to create a horrifyingly powerful Tergrid cEDH deck with you all. Once again, if you're interested in building this deck with us, you can check out our Discord link below in the Tergrid channel, or you can hop into the Unified Mono Black Discord, which is where I got a lot of the insights from this build from some people who are way better at playing Mono Black than I am. Some of the deck lists from that Discord are going to be linked below in the video description, and they're probably better than mine, so maybe check them out. Also, you can follow us on Twitter for my lukewarm takes and to occasionally see us interact with other content creators and random people on Twitter and stuff. We still need to have like 50 followers yet, so I'm seriously considering making my dad get a Twitter just to give us a boost, you know? Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell. That would be really, really cool. Join our Discord, join the Mono Black Discord, join whatever Discords you want. Tell your dad you love him, and I'll see you next time.